So it was Eagle, Colorado, which is, like Eagle County contains Vail. I mean, that's kind of what it's known for. But so the paper's office was in Eagle, and yeah, it was really funny because it was not a big place. There were two papers there, and I worked at the older paper, but it was no longer really like the paper of record in town. The Vail Daily was, and I worked at the Vail Trail. So it was this weird sort of. It's actually very prescient because this was before, the newspaper industry really changed. But, when I was in that news office, it felt like we were inside of a dying industry, because we were getting hammered by this other paper. And because of that, I could kind of do what I wanted. I mean, I would just pitch things and they would say yes. And so it was really a great job. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it stressed me out. I mean, having the deadlines and, I remember always getting really anxious about that whole aspect of it. But I kind of got to do what I wanted. So it was great writing practice. I mean, and that was why I did it. I mean, I was looking at, what are the career arcs of a lot of great novelists? Well, a lot of them are reporters or, and I thought, well, I'll have a lot of deadlines, so I'll have to do something, right? So I did that, and it was great practice, and I enjoyed doing it. But also, that valley was so small, and there was not really that community that I was describing earlier, like that I had at Wesleyan or that I had at YPI. And so I just couldn't stay there. It was like just too. Just not enough of what I needed, So I left and I came back to Florida. But I mean, I had this plan to go to grad school, but it wasn't really well thought out. And so I took this job teaching high school, and I taught comparative religion, and I taught journalism. And it was basically a bunch of electives that they gave me in order to give me something to do. And I was really bad at it, I'm sure, because I had no pedagogical experience whatsoever. So I knew nothing about classroom management, and all my classes I originated. So there was no, textbook to work from. I had to invent the entire class from scratch. So I was doing every single prep for every single class, which was exhausting. I don't recommend it. I mean, that in and of itself was like a whole job. So, but I did that for 2 years, and yeah, and then, like I said, I applied to grad school. I applied to 10 schools. I got into one, which happened to be FIU, which I was really bummed about at the time, but ended up being, I think, the best thing that could have happened to me. Because I think if I had gotten into two, I wouldn't have gone to FIU. And then I later found out that I had, won the jackpot because I would meet people or talk to people who were at these other, prestigious MFA programs that I wanted to get to. And didn't get into, and they were all hating their experience, and it wasn't supportive, and they were becoming demoralized and not sure if they wanted to be writers anymore. Or I just felt like I was learning something every day, and really having my eyes open and becoming a better writer. And there were great people in the program, and they were of different ages, which I thought was really cool, which is not true of some other MFA programs. I liked having people who were 60, who had totally different life experiences, a completely different outlook on life than someone in their 20s, So I loved it. It was an amazing experience, and at the same time, I kind of fell in love with Miami during those 3 years, and so I realized I wanted to stay here and start doing some sort of grassroots organizing. So right at the end, when I was about to defend my thesis, or in the process of putting together my thesis and defending it, I was meeting with Campbell, one-on-one about that process, and I said to him, I was like, hey, what if we get a bunch of Miami or South Florida based poets to go to a bar once a month just to meet up and keep that community going, because I was nervous about leaving that community. If you're going to the classes, you're going to be part of something, no matter what. But once you leave the university, then who knows, And I'd seen from taking poetry workshops in different places, like Fine Arts Work Center and some other places, from the people who were in those workshops who were older, the thing that I heard over and over from them was that, they struggled to stay engaged with the art form. And so they would take workshops in order to sort of like force them back into this community. And so I was really scared of that happening to me, because I knew I didn't have a book. I wasn't going to get hired to go teach at a university right when I graduated. And so what was I going to do to create that community around myself? And so the first thing ended up being the Miami Poetry Collective, which was the thing that Campbell started. So I was like, hey, let's do this. And he's like, that's great. We'll do it. Let's meet at Zeke's on Lincoln Road next month. So November 2008, we met at Zeke's, and we sat down. I figured we were just going to be drinking, and then Campbell announced that this was the formation of the Miami Poetry Collective. And so we were all like, okay, all right. So then what do we do? And we started doing two things. One was we started writing poems on the street for money at Art Walk in Wynwood on manual typewriters. And we also started publishing this little like zine of our work called the 1 Cent Journal, or the Cent Journal series, because every time we did it, we raised the price by 1 penny. So the first one was 1 cent, the second one was 2 cents, and 3 cents. And Nick Vagnoni came up with a great slogan that the price is in the name and we don't make change. So if you have $1, then you give us $1. We're not going to make change for you. So we would be out, writing on manual typewriters, and then we would sell the zines to people as well. So like, we could be making art, but we also had stuff that we kind of spent more time on and revised that we could also get out there. But what was great about that experience is that I really started to see how people interacted with poetry in real time and what their attitudes about it were, and which was a totally different experience from what I was doing when I wasn't out there, which was I was writing poems, sending them out to literary journals. And this is before digital submissions were a thing. So, I was putting them into envelopes and stamping them and sending them off into the void, and usually getting nothing in return, or getting a little sheet of paper that's like a form rejection, and then every once in a while getting really lucky and getting a poem taken and being really ecstatic for a day and a half, and then having to go back to the whole process. So but basically, like, even if you get a poem accepted, you're not hearing the reaction of anyone who's reading it. There was no like call and response to it. It was just you were sending it out there. Whereas like when we were writing poems on the street for money, I'd write a poem for someone, they would read it, and they would immediately tell me what they thought of it. And that I think was like so affirming and so great for me personally, as an artist, to see what people's reactions were to what I was doing. And it also made me realize that more people care about poetry than I realized. And I realized that it was actually my attitudes about poetry that were negative, and it was me who was assuming that people didn't care about this art form, when in fact I was meeting people who were not poets, who were not reading poetry, who loved this experience of having a poem written for them. And I was like, wait, there's something to this. Like, we're missing something, like in the poetry world. So, and that eventually led to starting On Miami, because I was enjoying doing that. And then I initially asked Knight Foundation for some money just to bring emerging poets to Miami, and did that from 2009 to 2011. Brought down about 15 people. Some of them stayed with me. Others I put up at the Betsy. It was. I really kind of caught the bug for producing, and then that led to me pitching the festival. And this is a long answer to your question.